Hello everyone. So I am a very big fan of Lisa Eldridge, and today I'm going to be talking about 3 newly available products that she has created and that I am excited about. So the first one is a palette that it contains 4 eyeshadows and a highlighter. These are all kind of on the shimmery side. The theme is kind of in peaches and coppers and green. And this is a collaboration with the Louvre, and it is through the company Lancome, which Lisa Eldridge is the creative director for. So I think of this as kind of a secret extension to Lisa Eldridge's own eyeshadow palettes that she released last year. I think that it's very similar in a lot of respects, but I think very few people so far know that it has anything to do with her. And I have found it to be a really good product for me in terms of both it having a really clean ingredient list as far as I'm concerned, and also to work really well for me, both on a casual basis, and I think it would be a nice evening palette as well. And then in addition, Lisa Eldridge has released a line of 6 new eyeliners through her own Lisa Eldridge line. And so I have 2 of those. One is the color Renaissance Gold, and the other one is the color Forest Green. So I will be talking about those. And then in addition, I finally got hold of one of the Sorcery palettes from Lisa Eldridge. So this was released just before Christmas of last year, and it sold out within something like a day, so I didn't actually purchase it back then, unfortunately. It finally came back in stock on the Lisa Eldridge website, so I picked this up. And this is supposed to kind of be a night palette, but I have been experimenting using this as a one-and-done palette, just using each color's individually on my eyes, and I think that actually has been working really well for me, both for day use and also for more dress-up use. So I wanted to share that with you as well. And I shoot all of my videos in natural light, so you can get a good sense of what all of these products might look like for you in the real world. So first, a little bit of information about me. I'm 59 years old, and I have dry and sensitive skin. And over the past 2 years, I have tried out more than 1,000 makeup and skincare products, so I'm starting to get a good sense of which products do and don't work for me. There are certain ingredients that always do seem to irritate my skin, so I avoid all products that have those ingredients in them. In addition, I only really like to spend 5 or 10 minutes a day putting on makeup, so I'm looking for products that perform really easily and really reliably, and also, of course, that don't cause me any irritation. So up until about a year or so ago, I almost never used eyeshadow palettes at all, because most of the mainstream ones that were on the market all contained ingredients that very reliably did irritate my eyes. So either aluminum powder or Teflon or fragrance or black number 2, and then in addition, some of those included talc, and talc is an ingredient that I also try to avoid because it can be contaminated with asbestos. Although there were some palettes that were from cleaner beauty companies that didn't include any of those ingredients, I tended to find until recently that those kinds of products always were very difficult for me to use, that the formulas tended to be very hard and not to pick up very well on the brush, or not to blend very easily, and therefore not to be very fun for me to use. So that all seems to have changed over the past year or so, and especially over the past couple of months. So there have been a whole bunch of new palettes that have been released, both from clean beauty companies and from mainstream beauty companies, that have really good ingredient lists and that have not irritated my eyes at all, and also that have worked really well for me and that have been a lot of fun to use. So I am still trying to get to know how best to put on these kinds of eyeshadows, and I am really enjoying the new products, and so I purchased a whole bunch of them, so I will be sharing them with you gradually on this channel. So of the eyeshadows that have been released over the past year, some of the ones that I have really liked the most have been the group of palettes from Lisa Eldridge. So those again were released back just before Christmas of 2022, and I purchased 4 of these palettes so far, and I've really been enjoying them. These are very small palettes, and they contain 6 shades in each palette, and they the shades will pop out, so if you want to exchange them and pick out other shades, then you can do that. And some of those shades have been available individually. They're all sold out now, but hopefully they will be back in stock at some point soon. So I have found that these products have not irritated my eyes at all, and that they have been really fun to use, and that they've been giving me kind of a more muted look that I think is appropriate to what my makeup look like, a little bit more on the natural side, but also with a little bit of fun to them and a little bit of sophistication. So I don't feel like they're really bright. I don't feel like they're too shimmery for me. I just feel like they're very pretty and work really well on my own skin and with my own makeup look. So of the 30 shades that Lisa Eldridge has available in these 5 palettes, 3 of them do have aluminum powder in them, 2 in the Vega palette and 1 in this Sorcery palette. So I haven't been using those, and my plan is to pop those out and to put a different shade in instead of those. And there are a few that have artificial colors in them. So far those have not been irritating my eyes, but I think it might be the case that for some people who have really sensitive eyes and certain kinds of sensitivities, that those might not work for them either. But for the most part, I think that these palettes have worked really, really well for me, and I think that for a lot of people, even those people with sensitive eyes, these might work out really well. So because I like these Lisa Eldridge eyeshadows so much, I was really kind of excited when I realized that she had developed this palette for Lancome. And I feel like $89 is an awfully lot of money to spend on an eyeshadow palette. It's something that is probably one of the most expensive pieces of makeup in my entire makeup collection. But I really do like the color story for this. The peaches and the green, I think, work really well with my complexion and my eyes. And so I did want to give it a try, and so far I'm not sorry at all that I picked this up. So this palette is a collaboration with the Louvre Art Museum in Paris, and it is called the Lancome Richelieu Wing Face and Eyeshadow Palette. And so far it's just available on the Lancome site. I'm not sure if it's going to be available through other outlets or not, so we'll have to see about that. So this collaboration with the Louvre is something that Lancome just announced. So the idea with this is that there's a wing of the museum that's called the Richelieu Wing, which has some paintings, but it also has a lot of large sculpture galleries. And these sculpture galleries used to be open air areas that were enclosed with a glass ceiling at the same time that they put that pyramid in front of the Louvre. So it kind of coordinates with that in terms of the way that the pieces of glass look. So the idea with this campaign with Lancome is that they have a number of famous spokespeople who are models or actresses or musicians that are representing Lancome. And so each of those women chose a statue from the museum that was said to be representative of what people think of as a strong woman. So it was supposed to get away from the idea of art showing women as victims and rather showing women being depicted as being strong and accomplishing things. And so in addition to this advertising campaign, then they have a limited edition of some different makeup items that also are supposed to be the collaboration with the Louvre. So there's a serum that's in a special bottle, and there's some special shades of lipstick that are in special containers. And then there is this palette, and the palette is the one product from Lancome that I could find that was specifically stated as being designed by Lisa Eldridge. So Lisa Eldridge is a celebrity makeup artist who has her own small line of makeup products. And in addition, she has her own YouTube channel with a fairly large following. And so far, she hasn't talked about this new Lancome palette on her makeup channel at all. I'm not sure if she's planning to do that. I only found out about this palette from a channel called Not Fit for Print Beauty, so I'm kind of grateful to them because I would have never had any idea that Lisa Eldridge had so much input into this particular product, because I don't really visit the Lancome site very much. In addition, Lisa Eldridge is kind of a makeup historian, so she wrote a whole book on this topic that I have been reading. She did all the makeup for the Barbie movie, and she also, since 2015, I think, has been the creative director for Lancome. So Lancome is a brand that is owned by L'Oreal, And most of their products have fragrance in them or other ingredients that I have had problems with. So that is not a brand that I have looked at very much. I did at one point purchase their foundation stick because that looked like it had ingredients in it that might be okay for me. And I wasn't that crazy about how that foundation stick performed. So I've kind of given up on that company, which is a little bit too bad because they have rehired Isabella Rossellini back as a spokesperson. They fired her back in the 1990s when she was in her early 40s because she was too old. So I'm happy that they hired her back, and I wouldn't mind buying some products from them. But so far, this is the only product that I have found that I have really felt like would be appropriate for me. And so far, I've been really liking it. So at least that's one product. And so a lot of these big makeup companies that are, considered to be prestige have famous makeup artists as creative directors. And I'm not sure how much of an impact Lisa Eldridge actually has on the products that Lancome creates. It certainly is the case that the products that she creates through her own company are much cleaner and much more distinctive, in my opinion, than the ones that come out of Lancome. So I'm not sure how much involvement she has, but they do make a very special effort on their website to point out that Lisa Eldridge was specifically involved in designing this particular palette. So for this particular palette, there's supposed to be an association with a particular statue that's located in the Richelieu wing of the Louvre, and that statue is called Corinne, and it's a French statue from the early 1800s. And the idea is that this is depicting a poet from ancient Greece who was really widely respected and who served as a mentor to some of the male poets. So the idea with this is that it's supposed to depict another one of the strong women. So apparently the original Greek pronunciation of this would be Corinna, but because it's a French statue, it's called Corinne. So for this palette, on the front of the palette, it shows a small percentage of this statue here. And then they also, in the package, they have this poster of this statue. And then, and this is kind of the fun part, in terms of the palette itself, it looks like what I thought originally was just, oh, that's just a marble design that's stamped into this. But I think it's actually supposed to be the top of the head of the statue. See, so there's like the hair at the top, and then you can see the very top of her eyes here. So I think that that's very interesting. I think this is what's called a baked gelée formula. And I have really only seen this baked gelée formula in things like blushes that are like all one piece. So the idea that this is multiple pieces that are put in this palette and that it's all part of one artistic design, I think is very interesting to me. So there's a statement from Lisa Eldridge in here. And it says, this palette is very much about Corinne's struggles because at that time you couldn't be a genius and a woman. These days, women can take on agency over our own choices and our own appearance. One day you can decide to paint on a colorful mouth. The next day you might decide not to wear makeup at all. It might not sound revolutionary, but trust me, it is. So I guess the idea of this is that in the past, women really were just sort of like toys for men, apparently, is what she's suggesting. And that today that you're mostly making your own decisions, we hope. And that's something to celebrate. So now let's talk about the shades that are in this palette. So there are 4 shades that are designated as eyeshadows, and then there's one that's supposed to be a highlighter. And all of these are shimmery shades, and they are supposed to be kind of based on the light that is in the Richelieu Gallery. So the idea is that the light is coming in through this glass ceiling with the panes of glass going in different directions, and so it's supposed to be especially pretty. I wish I could remember it better. And so of these shades, one of the eyeshadow shades is a rich green, and then the other ones are kind of pinks and coppers, or there's one that's kind of a little bit of a goldish color. And then the highlighter is a kind of a champagne color type highlighter. So the green one they are saying is called the Cour Puget, which is one of the indoor statue areas. There's a lot of plants in that area, which are supposed to give you an outdoor experience that you might have originally had when you were looking at the statues if you had lived back in the 1800s or before. And so that's why it's green. And it says that that is described as a glittery, cool-toned emerald green. And then there's a pink shade that is called Royal Palace, and I think that this is supposed to refer to what the outside of the Louvre looks like, especially at certain times of day. And it is described as a dusty rose gold. And then there's a champagne type color that is called Coeur Marly, and I think that that is referring to the marble that's in the sculpture. So it's a combination of white and yellow gold, they say it is, and it's kind of swirled like the marble in the statues are. And then there's a peach color that's called Cour Carré, and that's another outdoor courtyard that is really old, going back to the 1500s. And it seems to be the case that the outdoor walls on that particular building are more of a coppery type of marble color, and so that's why they chose that copper color. And then the highlighter, they're just calling that as the Richelieu Gallery light. So apparently that's referring to the natural light that's streaming through the glass ceiling. And it is described as a muted gold tone, but I think it's more like champagne. So while I can't exactly remember this part of the museum well enough to be able to tell you whether this is a good representation of what the museum is like, I do think that these colors and that this shimmery texture of these shadows is really unusually pretty, and much more so than I think that really any eyeshadows that I have seen, except for maybe some of the other Lisa Eldridge shadows. So like some of those other shadows, they have some very, very small little pearls in them. And the pearls are really a variety of colors rather than just something that's very flat looking. They're also a little bit like the Lisa Eldridge lip glosses, which also have a little bit of that special pearl in it. So they're not something that's very glittery, but they are something that I think gives an unusually sophisticated and kind of refined shine and sparkle. So one of the shades in this palette, the green shade, it really reminded me quite a bit of the shade Grotto that is in this Sorcery palette. So this is in the middle of the second row. And I don't think that the texture of the eyeshadow itself is exactly the same. And I looked up the ingredients, and they're not really the same ingredients. But I feel like in terms of how it looks on my eyes, in terms of that sophistication, and even in terms of the shade, it's very close to one another. So what we have here, I have the Lancome one on the top, and then on the bottom I have the Grotto shade. I think that the one on the top is just a little bit more of a peridot color, just a little bit more of a spring green, and that the Grotto one has a little bit more of a grayishness to it, and you can't even really see that so much in this light. But they're very close to one another, and I think that that makes a lot of sense because the shadows are very, very similar, and I think that the lighter color shadows are also similar to other things that Lisa Eldridge has done in her shadow line. So in terms of the Lancome site, there was really only one picture of someone wearing this makeup, and it looked like it was really creating a really dramatic nighttime type look. So that made me a little bit nervous. But what I realized when I purchased this is that it's actually very similar to the Lisa Eldridge palettes, and that if you want to build it up and create a more dramatic look, then you can try to do that. But I think it feels much more natural to use it in kind of a muted look, like I have done. I think that this is really designed for people that want a much more sophisticated and a pretty look that's going to flatter their eyes without actually causing them to be too much the center of attention. And I have been really happy because I haven't found this to be irritating to my eyes at all. I think that of the eyeshadow palettes that I have, it's worked out perfectly fine. So even though this costs $89, which is really, really expensive, I think that this is one of the most special pieces of makeup that I have purchased at all, and so I'm really glad to keep it. And I do plan to use it. It's a little bit tempting to just save it because those impressions in the shadows are so pretty, but I do think that I will use it. I'm kind of enjoying it so far. And so now let's talk about these eyeliners, which are just brand new. They just came out last week. They are called the Seamless Glide Eye Pencils, and they are $30 each. They are made in Germany, so we know that there's a big eye pencil factory there that makes pencils for many different makeup companies. There are 6 shades. 3 of them are mattes, and two of them are slightly shimmery, and then one of them is a full-on shimmery gold type shade. And I decided to try two of these. One of them that I have is the Night Forest, which is called Deepest Green with Blue and Green Pearl. One is called Renaissance Gold, which is a blackened metallic gold with cool champagne pearl. And then there's one that's called Cinder Smoke, which is a gray with a slight shimmer. And then there's a brown matte, a black matte, and a matte that is called Burnt Umber, which is kind of a reddish brown. And so these are supposed to be kohl pencils, but super creamy and super rich colored. And according to a quote from Lisa Eldridge on the website, it says, "It has an addictively creamy texture with a smoothness and a level of ease I've never experienced before." And then additional information on the website says that it seamlessly glides on pigment with a luxuriously almost liquid feeling, allowing for playtime before setting to a budge-proof, waterproof, and fade-resistant finish that will last all day with 16-hour proven wear. So you're supposed to be able to put these on and then move them around by smudging them with your brush or a finger for 40 seconds before they actually dry down, and then they're not supposed to move until you take them off. So let's first talk about my own experiences with eyeliners, because of all the categories that are out there, finding a good eyeliner has been particularly difficult for me. So what I want in an eyeliner is, one, something that doesn't irritate my eyes at all, and I would like something that I can put on easily, that goes on really smoothly, that doesn't create a really dramatic eye, but that I feel that I have some control over, and that I can put it on and then play with it a little bit to smudge it out if I want to, and then to have it dry down so that it will last for the rest of the day, so I don't have to worry about it becoming a big mess or disappearing on me. So maybe that is a lot to ask for, and it is certainly true that most of the eye pencils that I have used have not succeeded in fulfilling that. So an awfully lot of eye pencils for me have been more irritating than I want to put up with. And I do have really unusually sensitive eyes, even for people that have sensitive skin. So if I am happy with an eyeliner, then I'm hoping that other people might be happy with it also. But I have found an awfully lot of eyeliners to be problematic. So some of the older ones have chemical type ingredients in them that are problematic, but a lot of the clean ones are particularly problematic for me, and I think that the reason for that is because a lot of those include cottonseed oil. And cottonseed oil is a product that I have never seen organic in any beauty products, and the non-organic cottonseed oil tends to be very contaminated with agricultural chemicals, including glyphosate. And what glyphosate is known to do is to kill off all the good bacteria and allow bad fungi and other microbes to grow. So that is kind of the last thing that I want to have going on in my eyes. And when I have tried eyeliners, and I've tried a lot of them with cottonseed oil in them, I do feel that they've been irritating. So I would like for them to be able to work, but so far I have really given up on the idea of any eyeliners with cottonseed oil in terms of actually using them. Maybe sometimes I try them on this channel. And then in addition, I do find that an awfully lot of eyeliners either don't go on very easily, that I have to really struggle to get a smooth and pretty line, or that they can be really patchy, or that they disappear really quickly. Or in some cases, they will go on and then I can't move them at all, so I will look like I have a line that's much too harsh. And then also in some cases, they tend to draw a line that's just, they put a lot of product on my eyes, so that it looks like a much more dramatic and smoky type eye than I'm really looking for most of the time. Now, the other thing that I know about eyeliners is that there really aren't that many eyeliner factories out there, and that a high percentage of the high-end eyeliners are made at a particular factory in Germany. And then the other thing is that in general, most of the makeup companies that have their names on the brands, they're really not doing their own formulating at all for any of the products. But I think that's especially the case for eyeliners, that rather what they're doing is going to the factories, and the factories have formulators that are associated with them. And then they choose the particular formulas that they like the best, and then the factory sells them the products. So they're not really that involved in the particular creation of the formula, and in many cases they're using the exact same formula that other companies are using. So one thing that makes the Lisa Eldridge company a little bit different than many of these other companies is that she does have her own makeup formulator on staff, and with some particular products that's been really important. So when it came to her makeup cleanser, they developed their own particular proprietary formula, and it actually used ingredients that were much, much more expensive than they would have been able to use if they had been going through one of these makeup formulator associated factories. And so that has been really great, and I think Lisa Eldridge's makeup cleanser has just been spectacular for me. I just can't get over how happy I am with that particular product. Also with her new Velveteen liquid lipsticks, I think that that one was actually formulated in-house as well, and I've been really impressed with that product compared to really all of the other liquid lipsticks that I have seen as well. But in watching her video on the eye pencils, I really didn't see anything that suggested that this was a proprietary formula. And so I think that probably making eyeliners takes quite a bit of skill, and that if you don't have a really good idea in mind about how you can make one that's better, it's probably a lot easier just to use the existing formulas from the factory. So the reason that I bring this all up is because the moment that I put this eyeliner on my eyes, it immediately reminded me very, very much of the Victoria Beckham eyeliners. And then when I looked up the ingredient list is very, very similar, and it's from the same factory in Germany. So if we look at the comparison for the ingredients, a few of the ingredients are in slightly different order. These are both for the plain brown pencils for these companies. The Victoria Beckham one does have a couple of extra ingredients in it. It has panthenol and tocopherol acetate in it. And supposedly those are supposed to be giving antioxidant benefits or moisturizing benefits, but I do know that tocopherol acetate is something that some people do react to, so there's reasons to leave it out of the formula as well. But other than that, it looks very, very similar to me. So with the Victoria Beckham line, the only one that I have tried is the cocoa version, which is the brown color. And usually I do like a brown eyeliner, but this one was very distinctive. So what I find is that if I look at pictures of Victoria Beckham on, say, a Google search, really all of those pictures of her, they all show her with quite a dramatic, smoky, brown type eyeliner on. And that is exactly what this cocoa eyeliner from Victoria Beckham gives to me. I think it's much more soft than most eyeliners that I have used, and so it goes on pretty thick. It's hard to create a really muted line with that. And it smudges really easily, and I think it's very pretty. And if you're trying to look like Victoria Beckham or a similar look to her, you really can get that look very, very easily with this pencil. It does it kind of automatically. But if you want any other kind of look, then that's much, much more difficult to get with this pencil. And it does allow me to smoke it out, so that part is good. Now on the downside, I have found consistently whenever I have used that pencil that it is slightly irritating to my eyes. And I looked at the ingredient list a lot. There's one thing on there that might be considered to be a little bit concerning. It is an ingredient that's called isocetith 10, which is kind of an emulsifier, so maybe that's why it's such a creamy type of a formula. So this is an ingredient that would make this product not eligible for sale at Credo, because it's called a methoxylated ingredient, and it might have some kind of contamination in it. So it's possible that that is what I'm reacting to, or maybe it's something else. But in any case, I have found that even though the Victoria Beckham pencil does give me a very distinctive and a kind of attractive in a certain way look, and even though a lot of people are really, really enthusiastic about it, it is not something that I've been very inclined to wear because it does irritate my very sensitive eyes. And so this is basically exactly the same experience that I had with the Lisa Eldridge pencils that I got. Now, I don't have the brown one, but I think that these other two shades, the gold and the green, they're reminding me very, very much of the brown Victoria Beckham pencil. So there's an awfully lot of pigment in these pencils. They're very soft. I think that it would be very hard to use most other eyeliners as sort of like an eyeshadow and to smudge it out that much. But with any of these pencils, it's so easy to do that because they are very soft. They do create a pretty strong line, but it does allow it to be smudged out, so that is a saving grace. But again, with the Lisa Eldridge pencils, they do irritate my eyes. So that they're not so irritating that I need to take it off right away. But it is certainly the case that if I wear it for more than a few minutes, my eyes do start to feel kind of irritated and tired and like they've just kind of had enough. So this is definitely something I wouldn't want to wear on a regular basis, and I kind of doubt I'm going to wear it very often at all, even though I do think they're super, super pretty. So I did a little search on YouTube, and there haven't been that many people that have reviewed this Lisa Eldridge pencil so far, but of the people who have, several of them have brought up the fact that they thought that it was pretty similar to the Victoria Beckham ones. And what they are suggesting is that the Renaissance Gold shade is similar to the Victoria Beckham Smoky Quartz shade. In addition, Victoria Beckham has a shimmery green color that they're just calling olive that I've always found to be really attractive. And so I'm not sure if that's super close to the Night Forest. Based on the photos, the Night Forest one looks like it's more on the greenish blue side, whereas the olive one looks like it's more of a straightforward green. But in any case, both of those are fairly similar to one another, I think. And then, of course, I don't think the black and the brown mattes are that much different from one another. It does look like of the Lisa Eldridge shades that the Cinder Smoke shade and the Burnt Umber shade, that those might be different than anything that Victoria Beckham is offering. And if that is the case, then I know that there are some people out there who really, really like that Victoria Beckham formula. And if that's the case, then these might be shades that they might consider, because so far, at least, they seem to be different than what Victoria Beckham is offering. So I don't want to say that I don't think that people should purchase either of these, either from Victoria Beckham or from Lisa Eldridge, just because I can't tolerate them. Because as I say, my own eyes are very, very sensitive. And I don't think that most people are going to have that kind of problem with them. So I think that if you really like a more of a dramatic, smoky look, then these would be great for you. I do think the colors are very, very pretty for people. Personally, though, I think that I'm going to stick with my existing liners, which I have found to work really, really well. So that is apparently another formula that is made by this same German company. So there are 3 different brands of eyeliners now that have performed exactly the same for me, and that really seem to differ only in terms of the particular shades. So one of those is Caloret, and this one came out early last year, and I've been really, really enthusiastic about this, but there are only 3 colors. And then more recently, Rowan came out with a line of some additional colors, including a gold type color or bronze type color. And then most recently, Mercier came out with a line of several different colors. And I have found that all of those have worked really well for me. So I think it's hard for me to imagine a situation where I would need to resort to one of these other eyeliners that would irritate my eyes. But I feel like I am getting a bit more of a restrained look from them. And so if you're looking for something that's a little bit more smoky and a little bit more bold, then you might prefer one of these other liners. So finally, let's talk about this Sorcery palette. And this palette, as I said, was released at the end of 2022, and it sold out almost immediately, so now it is just back in stock. And I have been experimenting with using these as one-and-done shades, and I think that has been working particularly well for me. So I thought what I would do is just show you some footage of me putting on each of these eyeshadows one at a time, and I will talk a little bit about the eyeshadows at the same time that I am showing you this footage. In the footage, I am using my Victoria Beckham eye crayon in the shade Trench as a base, and then I'm just putting a little bit of the shadow over the top of it and then blending it in. So in this Sorcery palette, there's one shade that is a sparkly shade that's more like a topper, and that does have aluminum powder in it. So I'm not going to put that one on my eyes, but I will show you what it looks like on my hand, so just so that you can get a sense of it. We'll see if the light in here is good enough to show you what it looks like. So it definitely has a lot of a shimmer to it. And the good thing about these palettes is that you can pop out particular shades and put in other shades. So that's kind of my intention to do with that particular shade, is to pop it out and give it to someone else, and then put something else in there instead. And for the Grotto shade, I will show you that in comparison to the Lancome shade in green, so you can see if you think that there's any difference when it actually goes on my eyes. So although I think that this certainly would be a good palette to use for a dramatic, bold evening look, I think that for me, I really, even if I'm going out in the evening, I'm not sure if I want a look that's that bold. But that if I use just one of these shadows, it gives me more of a casual, oh, I just threw this on, isn't this fun? I'm not trying too hard to be glam look, that I think is really works well for me, really in any circumstances. So I'm really happy to have this little palette, and I think that all of these shadows are really kind of beautiful. In addition, that green color, the Grotto color, I picked up one of those individually last year, and so I've been playing with that all year. And what I found with that one is that it also works really nicely in combination with both the Cinnabar palette, which is kind of on the browns and sort of peachy orange type shades, and with the Muse palette, which is sort of pinks and browns. And that if I put just a little bit of that sparkly green shadow in with some of those other more ordinary colors, that it can just create a nice, pretty look that's not too dramatic, and that I don't feel like I have a problem wearing out of the house no matter what the circumstances are. And I'm a little bit interested in just taking apart all of these palettes and then mixing them up and see if I can make them all into something that would be usable in itself, where I wouldn't have to pull out another palette. But so far I haven't done that, but it would be kind of a fun thing to do. So thank you very much for watching all the way to the end of the video. And if there are products that have worked for you or that have not worked for you that I've mentioned on this video, then please let me know what those are, because I'm really interested in terms of what kinds of ingredients or which products other people react to. In addition, if you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, then I hope you will go ahead and do that. And Coco and I love you very much, so thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.